All right, we're back, and you should know who I am by now. But if you didn't happen to catch the opening session, I will just say once again, my name is Mike Winsman. I'm the Director of Transfer and Technology at BCCAT. I did tell you you're going to be seeing a lot of me over the next course of the next 2 days, and that's a picture of me in my Barbie pose. I didn't even realize, I just thought it was a nice graphic, and then I realized it looked a little bit like that Barbie meme that was going around a little while ago. And I'd like to welcome you to Transfer 101, the history of the BC transfer system. Now, you might be wondering, what is the purpose of this session? Well, who is this session for? This session is for newbies, it is for transfer credit veterans, it is for anyone who has an understanding of the transfer system but might have some gaps in their knowledge. One of the things that we have learned over the years when we attend articulation committees or meet with institutions is that even when people have a long history of working in the transfer credit world, they often have a bit of a piecemeal understanding of how it all works, what BCCAT's role is, what it is that I do. That's always a question that my parents have. What is it that Mike does for a living? I don't quite understand. But this is what this session is for. This session is meant to be an overview and an introduction to what is the overall transfer system at large. Whether you are a new person to the transfer system, whether you are a veteran, or someone who just wants to confirm their knowledge and expertise to show off to their friends and family, this, I think, is going to be the session for you. I suspect that even if you've been working with us and coming to JAM for a long time, you probably will learn a little bit about this, about the system that we're working in. So I hope that this will be a good session to start your day. Just to give you a little bit of background information on me, in February of 2024, I will be celebrating my 20th year at BCCAT, which is incredible. I have been at BCCAT for the same number of years that I have been married. When I first started at BCCAT, I was a newlywed. Now I'm a grizzled veteran, 2 kids. And we are celebrating our 35th anniversary at BCCAT in terms of our existence. So when I talk about some of the history of the BC transfer system, much of that was my present. You know, I lived that history. I will tell you in advance, there will be a quiz at the end of this session. So we will be asking you to live the learning. And if you'd like to participate in the quiz, I'm going to put up a Slido link. Here is a QR code. You can go to slido.com and enter in the number 2672246. And thank you for the congratulations on the 20 years. Way to go. Yeah, it seems like it's been forever. We are going to put a link into the chat as well. So if you don't manage to capture the Slido number, don't worry, it will come up again. And we are going to put the link into the chat as well. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about what is BCCAT. Well, it obviously stands for the BC Council on Admissions and Transfer. It was established in 1989, and I've been here for 20 years, so I started in 2004. And our job is to facilitate admissions, articulation, application, transfer arrangements among post-secondary institutions in BC. And there's a picture of us. I'm the one standing in the back near the middle, and that's the majority of our staff who are lurking behind the scenes right now as part of our event. Much of what we do has to do with encouraging institutions to develop best practices, researching issues related to capacity and demand. We recommend policies and practices. We facilitate the development of credit transfer agreements, and we manage online resources. The most obvious one that you're familiar with is the BC Transfer Guide website, which is the home to over 300,000 course-to-course articulations. Those are very soft words, and I want you to pay attention to that because it's important. Those words were chosen intentionally. Encourage, research, recommend, facilitate, manage. That's a lot different than demand, tell, dictate. BCCAT does not have that type of authority. So BCCAT is a not-for-profit agency that's funded by the government. What BCCAT is not are these things. We are not an accreditation body. Sometimes we get confused for that, and we even see this sometimes embedded in the language that is written in academic calendars, where they will defer to BCCAT when it comes to what type of institutions to recognize. Just to be clear, BCCAT is not an accreditation body. Accreditation is handled through the province of British Columbia, through the ministry responsible for post-secondary education. The Degree Quality Assessment Board is responsible for the approval of degree programs. We are not a Crown corporation. So don't confuse us with ICBC or WorkSafe BC or any of the other Crown corporations. We are not that. We are not a for-profit agency. That's not the most elegant way of phrasing it. I should have just said we are a not-for-profit agency. And we don't have any authority over your institutional autonomy. So while we can recommend best practices, we can encourage, we can facilitate, we don't have the ability to tell you what to do, nor would we tell you what to do, even if we could. The reality is that I think part of the reason why BCCAT is effective in its role in the transfer system is because we don't have the ability to tell you what to do. So we are not perceived as the last bullet, your enemy. We are not your enemy. We are here to support the work that you do. So when we do approach your institutions or engage in discussion with you, always keep that in mind. Our goal is always to facilitate, to help make the transfer system continue to operate as it currently does. Now, you might be wondering, well, then how is BCCAT governed? Well, BCCAT is governed by its council. So it is the BC Council on Admissions and Transfer, which is a 19-member body that is co-chaired by both BCCAT's executive director, Dr. Rob Fleming, as well as Angus Graham, who just gave us some opening remarks in the previous session. If you want to find out who is on that council, you can take a look at our website. You will find the list of our council members. Council members can serve for up to 6 years, and there is a regular renewal of membership. And representatives come from all the different areas within our post-secondary system. So they are spread out from across the province as well as across a variety of different roles to help ensure a diversity of perspective. Now, the council meets 4 times per year. We have 3 standing committees. The Transfer and Articulation Committee, which is a committee that I am on, which takes a look at issues related to transfer and articulation. We have the Admissions Committee, and we have the Research Committee, which takes a look at system level issues related to those particular topics of interest. So that is how BCCAT is governed. We do receive grant funding from the Ministry of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills, and that covers the expenses for our work as well as our staff. Now, I mentioned in the opening that I have a master's degree in leadership from Royal Roads. And one of the first exercises that you do in that program is help to work to define your personal core values. And it's a very important exercise to undertake because it helps you determine, what is it that drives you? What is it important to you? And what matters? And how does that then align with the organizations that you are employed? Well, BCCAT has its own set of core values, and I'm not going to go into this in too great detail, but I will highlight for you that we do have the principles and guidelines for transfer. So when BCCAT was first established in 1989, one of the first things they did was define what are the values of the BC transfer system. And that's when the principles and guidelines for transfer were first developed. The principles are written up on your screen, and I am going to go into this in a little more detail in the next session starting at 10. So I'm not going to go into too great a detail, but I will just highlight for you that if you are ever faced with a transfer credit situation, and you're not entirely sure how best to handle it, it's often informative to go back and take a look at the principles and see whether the solution might be found within living up or adhering to these principles and guidelines. These were endorsed by the BC Transfer System members, and they have been revised a number of times since they were first incepted. And the most recent update was in 2023. So just this year, we did a round of updates to the guidelines. The changes were a little more, I'm not going to say cosmetic, but they weren't substantive changes from previous, but there was some updates to the language. And if you go to the website link that I put down there on the slide, you can find not only the principles you see on screen, but also the sub-guidelines that help define the operational aspects of the principles and guidelines for transfer. So please do take a look at that if you're not familiar with it, because it can really help you dealing with some of the day-to-day transfer decisions that you have to make. Now, what is the BC transfer system? Well, the BC transfer system is a bit misleading because it's not just the BC transfer system. It includes institutions from outside of British Columbia as well. There are 40 public and private post-secondary institutions in British Columbia and Alberta. And again, a second typo, it should also say Yukon. My apologies to anyone from Yukon University. That should have been included on the opening bullet. But there are 40 member institutions, and you can see all their logos down below. I learned yesterday that Okanagan College has changed their logo, so thank you for that. You immediately made my slide deck out of date. Thank you, Okanagan College. To become a member of the BC transfer system, you have to be a publicly funded institution in British Columbia, or a private institution with consent to offer at least one baccalaureate program. That can be an associate degree or a bachelor degree. Just having consent to offer a degree program does not mean for automatic membership. You do have to apply for approval to operate as a member through BCCAT. And that process is handled through our Transfer and Articulation Committee. If you want to find out more about that process, you can find out more on our website. But these are the institutions that are part of our current system, which means that they can articulate on a course-by-course basis, participate in articulation committees, as well as publish information in the BC Transfer Guide. Okay. So you probably heard about articulation committees. You might be a member of an articulation committee or a representative of an articulation committee. But what are they all about? Well, within the British Columbia transfer system, we have over 60 discipline-specific articulation committees. And the best way that I could describe an articulation committee is it's like a province-wide department meeting. So this is where representatives from our system send faculty members to attend a meeting where they discuss issues related to their discipline. So for example, there is an English articulation committee and an anthropology and sociology committee and a math committee. If you go to our website, you can find, you can use the A to Z drop down our directory to find out which committees are available. Normally the committees meet once per year, and normally that happens in spring. So in springtime, that's always our really busy time. There were about 65 meetings last year. We attended 40 of them. Thankfully, many of them are online or in hybrid format now, so which makes it a lot easier. For some reason, there's always one day in the articulation committee season where we seem to have 10 or 15 committee meetings on the same time. We usually call that the Super Bowl of articulation. Usually it's the first week of May. If you are scheduling your articulation committee meeting and you are looking to have BCCAT representatives, it does help if you don't choose the first week of May, but I recognize that that's a little bit subject to availability. We regularly attend these meetings to share information about BCCAT, to act as a resource, and to listen. When you go to the website, you will find the list of committees, their chairs, a calendar of upcoming meetings, as well as committee resources, as well as information about Moodle, so that you can connect with your committee. And you will find out more about this in our next session at the articulation check-in at 10 o'clock. So what do the articulation committees actually do? Well, I already mentioned they meet once per year. It might surprise you to know that one of the things that they don't do is sit there and take a look at each other's course outlines, because that is not the best use of their time. So what they generally do is they talk about issues related to their discipline. They talk about anything that's going on at their institution. Lately, there's been a lot of talk about artificial intelligence, which we have a keynote for tomorrow. And of course, they attend JAM. And if you're wondering how committees get developed or created, there is an application process that is reviewed by the Transfer and Articulation Committee, and the guidelines can be found at that link below. So, how is the whole system put together? How does it all stick together? Well, the BC Transfer Guide is really the public face of our system. That is your home to over 300,000 course-to-course transfer agreements. You can also find information about additional program areas such as adult basic education, English as additional language. We have IB and AP guides and block transfer guides. Basically, any type of articulated pathway, you should be able to find it in the BC Transfer Guide. Now, if you're wondering how often the Transfer Guide is updated, the answer is every single day, almost every single hour of every single day. So at any given time, there are thousands of articulation requests circulating amongst the 40 members of the system. And when agreements are created, they get automatically published in the BC Transfer Guide. So whenever you go there, you can be assured that you are seeing the most current information that is available to us. Now, underlying the BC Transfer Guide is a system called the Transfer Credit System, the TCS. Now, here in higher ed, we have a real addiction to acronyms. And so we use acronyms all the time, and sometimes we don't actually stop to ask ourselves, well, what do those acronyms actually mean? Within the transfer world, you might often hear the acronym TCS. It stands for Transfer Credit System. This is the web application that is used by all institutions to submit courses for articulation, to respond to requests for articulation, as well as to update existing agreements. We have a number of automations in place to help automatically forward requests, to automatically publish agreements. You can also use the TCS to manage your block transfer agreements, your AP and IB listings, as well as some of the other guides that I had previously mentioned. So if you have some block transfer agreements that have not been added to the BC Transfer Guide and you'd like to add them, you can do so through the TCS. You can also feel free to contact us if you're not sure how to do that. Also, if you, in terms of TCS users, normally there is at least one TCS user in every registrar's office. Most of the time, there's actually more than one. So if you're a faculty member and you have a transfer credit question and you're not sure who to contact, please contact us and let us know. We're happy to put you in contact with your transfer credit person at the registrar's office. All right, so that's how it works in British Columbia. I'll talk briefly about how it works in other provinces. Now, as you are likely aware, post-secondary education is handled on a provincial level. And so it can differ from province to province. However, there are other organizations like BCCAT. So for example, the Alberta Council on Admissions and Transfer, ACAT, obviously looks after Alberta, and they have a system that's very similar to us. And I know some of their staff are here online. Hello, Carolyn. Hello, Eric, if you're there. There is Campus Manitoba. Unfortunately, they missed an opportunity to call themselves ManCat. I thought that would have been a perfect name. It would have been hilarious. Every time they could have just announced, hey, hi, I'm visiting you from ManCat. But no, they didn't choose that name. They just went with Campus Manitoba. I thought they could even stick with the cat theme and call themselves Manther, but no, not there. I don't know if anybody from Campus Manitoba is here, but I would like to put forward a suggestion that you change your name to ManCat. I think that'd be great. There's also the Ontario Council on Articulation and Transfer, ONCAT. Many of them are actually sitting in our boardroom right now. We have a bit of a live studio audience, and they will be here in person tonight as well as tomorrow. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the work that we're doing with them. And then there's also the Council on Admission and Transfer for Nova Scotia. So they used to be called NSCAT, and when I was putting together this slide, I realized that they had changed their name to CAT-NS. So always got to be a little bit different, and they manage the Atlantic provinces and the transfer system over there. And then as an overarching umbrella, there is the Pan-Canadian Consortium on Transfer, BCCAT. So yeah, lots of acronyms I'm throwing your way. And the BCCAT is an organization that helps facilitate and implement policies across the country. So one of the things that I have been very interested in and working towards is to further the development of a national system of transfer. So we have always worked in partnership with our provincial counterparts, but we still operate somewhat in silo. And so BCCAT helps to bridge some of those gaps. And for those of you that are interested, the BCCAT annual conference is coming up in June 23rd to June 27th. It's in joint with Rook, and it's in Calgary. So if you want to find out more about that, it will be available at the BCCAT website. All right, so that is the lay of the land. And now I told you there would be a quiz. So I am going to get that going right now. I put the Slido up. Now we're going to see how this works. I'm coming to you live. And so this is always a risk when it comes to technology, especially because we have a time lag. But I'm hopeful that this will work. And I'm hopeful that many of you will have already joined the Slido. So I was told that I need to hold some space here while we move forward. So I'm going to go over to the next quiz. Oh my goodness, already 48 people have joined the quiz. It's getting bigger and bigger. Thank you for that. I'm going to give that a second. Nice to see so many familiar names. Hello 2672. I don't know who that is, but I'm sure we can always expect some interesting comment from user 2672. Hello Garnett, Jason La Rochelle, good to see you. All right, Carolyn from ACAT. All right, I see Sienna's there. All right, okay, Susan Forsay, good to see you. All right, I think we've got quite a few people onto the chat. We're going to go to the first question, and this is from the beginning of the slide. What year was BCCAT established? This seems like a pretty easy one. I hope that none of you are going to be cheating and going to the website and just checking out the answer there. But the question is up there. We'll give it a few seconds to start seeing some answers populate. So this is where I get to hold space while I wait for the stream. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking down at the live stream, which is open on a second computer here in my office. All right, let's see some answers populate. I'm not seeing any answers coming in. I'm hoping that okay, well, I'm going to wait for some answers to come in. If I don't, oh yeah, right. Let's go. Okay, there we go. So we've got, wow, a lot of people already answering this one. Pretty good. You guys are pretty good. Somebody said 2004. All right, 1963. Okay, that is an important year. These are all somewhat important years in my world. 1963 was when the transfer system was first created. 1975 was when I was first created. And the correct answer is 1989. Coincidentally, keeping with our theme, that is also the name of the most recently re-released Taylor Swift album. So this is the BCCAT version. So 1989 is the year that we were established. All right, we are going to go to our next question. Which committee is not a BCCAT standing committee? You have four choices: the Admissions Committee, the Research Committee, Transfer and Articulation Committee, as well as the Technology Committee. All right, let's go to the answers. I see people are already populating answers. Technology Committee seems to be in the lead. The Admissions Committee's got a few percentages there. Yeah. All right. I've already got a feeling this whole conference I'm going to be making quite a few Taylor Swift references. And fun story, you know, if you'd asked me 2 years ago to name even a single Taylor Swift song, I wouldn't have been able to do that because I did not know any of them because I'm not cool anymore. But because I have a now 7-year-old daughter, I've become well familiar with the entire back catalog. And so I do appreciate the re-releases of the new albums. Okay, I see people coming on over. Oh, it closed before I can answer. Oh, I see. Okay, thank you for that feedback. Okay, my mistake. I will not make that mistake again, but for those of you that were able to answer, the Technology Committee is the correct answer. Okay. All right, we will keep this one open. Now I understand the lay of the land. How many articulation committees exist in British Columbia? You have 4 choices. You can read them all there. I will keep this one open this time. So now I understand that if I do a real-time total, that prevents people from answering. So I can see that the numbers are going up. We've got 40 people or so that have responded so far, and we'll keep that going for a few more seconds. Yeah, we attended quite a few committees last year, and we attended quite a few. We intend to attend quite a few more in the upcoming year. So that's a bit of a hint. Mike's a Swiftie. Who knew? Yeah, who knew? Yeah, I guess I technically am now. I was in Seattle last summer for the Blue Jays series with the Mariners, which happened to coincide with Swiftie playing across the street at the football stadium. And I've never seen a greater conflation of sport and culture in my life. I didn't really appreciate the number of sequins that were on sale that people would wear towards these events. And it was quite something. Okay, I am going to close this one off. Looks like we got 96 answers. Apologies to anyone who didn't get their answer in. So let's see, 51% of the people said 61 to 70, 27% said 51 to 60, and the correct answer is 61 to 70. Good for you. There are approximately 65 committees, and that number might change a little bit moving forward. All right, finally, the BC Transfer Guide is home to what? This is a check all that apply. So there is more than one answer here. Check all that applied. What type of equivalencies can you find in the BC Transfer Guide? And I will give it a second here while you guys populate your answers. You can choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you'd like. And we will see how many are in the transfer guide. I'm hoping that everyone will get this one right because I just presented on it like 10 minutes ago, but we'll see how that goes. I'm watching the numbers as it goes up. Looks like we got about 63 people so far of the 114 participating. Really love the participation. Thank you for that. That really helps. I'm going to wait till it gets to about 95 to 100, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, this one requires a little more than one clicking. I'll tell you there is more than one answer here. Looks like many of you are getting this right. Adnan's on a roll. Yeah, I think you're right, Val. Okay, well, in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. So this is how many you guys answered, and the answer is all of them except for A-level equivalencies. So a bit of a trick question there. A-level equivalencies are often offered in the United Kingdom as well as around the world. However, we do not have A-level equivalencies in our transfer guide. That's not to say we couldn't do that sometime in the future, but most of you looks like you got this correct. I'm finally going to give you one final bonus question. This one should be easy for you. Bonus question, Mike Winsman has been with BCCAT for how long? The answers are 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. The very strangely specific 19 years, 8 months, and 25 days. That's an odd choice. And then, of course, the last option, it just feels like forever. You can put in your choices into the quiz. And we will reveal the grand secret of how long I have been at BCCAT. And we will let that go for a little bit. Many of you have already answered. That's nice to see. I'll let that number go up a little bit more. You probably know it's probably more than 5 years. So I'll just tell you that if you already put in 5 years and committed to that answer, I appreciate it. But yeah, it's been a little longer. All right, the answers are coming in. They're getting, we'll give it another 10 seconds or so. All right, I'm going to close this one down. So 81% of you got it right. 44% of you said it just feels like forever. And then most of you didn't put the other three options. The correct answer is obviously question 4. That's an exact answer. But I also will accept question 5 as the correct answer as well. All right, well, thank you for participating in the quiz. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. Congratulations to Sarah Greelands, who went 5 for 5, as well as Walter Foreman, who went 5 for 5 as well. We also have Brody, Rob, and Priscilla. The hardest question was, the BC Transfer Guide is home to check all that apply. Okay, good to know. That was a little bit harder for everybody. Sarah, wow, really quick on the timing as well. So clearly you're a Slido expert. I hope this session has been enlightening for you. I hope you learned a few things. Thank you for putting your information into the chat. This has been really wonderful. And we are going to close it down now. It's now 9:59. I'm going to give myself 1 minute to take a break. And then we are going to transition into the next session, which is the articulation check-in. Please be sure to go join the next room. And I will see you there in just about a minute. Thank you.